Separated, just keep walking. Just keep going. Just keep walking somewhere.
You guys on radio? Can you tell them to open up the Stedman's roll-up door for the luggage? Those guys are 10 minutes out. I know you have to have a key to open that door.
The burger, very good.
All right.
Stock market, I hope, man. Stock market.
Everybody's in business. That's what I was telling him about. Oh, well, yeah, you do. Everybody. Yeah.
You're supposed to be the nurse, Jim, but hey.
How you doing? Good to see you. I'll see you in a little bit. Excited to talk to you.
Is Jerry here?
He was with you guys.
He said to just get it over with.
Well, I mean, he is. Yeah, you come across a young man that has, not only talent and football playing, who has this demeanor about, leadership and, calm during the storm. I mean, he's smart, but he's calm, critical moments, and he always wants to do. He's one of those guys that if something goes wrong, he takes responsibility. He's really everything you'd want to see him a leader.
He was the block out guy, so obviously it seems like the last part of the season he really raised the level of play. He was not just a leader, but he was a star.
Right. That's good to see because, Cody, my first 2 years here, wasn't a star. This day, transfer portal, he's a guy that could have easily left. He could have been started. He was as good as Tom and Steele. Moved around and played different things. Never complained, never said a word. He's really an old school guy when it comes to being a football player.
Just how well he played.
He was playing great. He was playing great. He's in all the right spots. And then, like you said, not only that, they can check for the defense. He understands how I think. For 3 years. He knows what I'm thinking. It's easy for me to say something to him that can change all the stuff. I think he said he's also showing.
I was going to say the word you used, triggered. He's triggered extremely well, right?
He's seen everything.
Yeah. Did you see something click in him middle of the year forward though, Jim? Because he really kind of jumped out at you from the Nebraska game on, in my opinion.
I did not, but I'm with these guys every day for 3 years. And like, people have asked the same thing about Jack and JT. To me, you're a function of your habits, So to me, it's like these guys have been doing all the right things. When you watch it play at night, you're doing all the right things. So when you do that on a consistent basis, big plays come. And I just feel like that's a matter of how you prepare for it.
Jim, only get the second half of the year. A lot of the pressure was coming from adding parents to games. So you have to do that. We all see what happens. Why do we have to do it? Why is it?
I feel like we've done enough now with coverage and structure and the way we look. And hopefully it's good for the quarterback. And that's one of the things last year.
It was one of the three mans that Jack was said winning. That wasn't
And the big game. Coach, have you faced Steve before? Steve Sarkisian's.
Yeah, I coached against Sark when I was at Oregon and Sark was at Washington. So,
what did you
learn
learn?
For a couple of years.
Yeah.
He's a heck of a football coach. His teams are always prepared. They do a really nice job. You got to be ready when you're playing against a Sark coach team.
Jim, how much do you watch other offenses as opposed to other defenses?
Well, you watch the other offense when you're watching the other defense. So, you know what I mean? So, like when you're watching all 12 of our now the playoff game and the championship game, all 14 of their games, you're not only watching Texas on defense, but you're watching the teams that played against them. So you saw Georgia twice. You saw Arizona State last week, and then every other game that they played this year. So, you're looking at both. You're looking at plays that, maybe that is there a certain group of plays that really affected their defense, and try to put together as you try to put together your plan. So,
How much of a temptation is there to do too much of what other teams do well against someone versus what you do well?
yeah, I think that's the dilemma for all coaches. Like, hey, that's a really good play, but how does it fit into what we do? How does it fit into the skill sets of our players? We're trying to play to our strengths. And so you may say, hey, this is a good scheme, but it takes a certain type of player at this position to run it, and it may not be what we're in. It also may be something, we don't do it all. So then, time on task. How many times would you have to run that play versus the varied looks that they give you? And is it worth investing that time in that, or is it better to invest in time in some other things? So that's always part of your how much is too much, how much is too little. You're always kind of going into these games and saying, are we prepared for each situation? Do we have enough plays in those situations? Then do we have the requisite amount of time to practice them so you feel confident so when you call them in a game that our players can execute them? So,
Coach, what do you know about the Texas defensive coordinator?
I know Pete. Faced him back when I was on the West Coast, and Pete was on the West Coast at Washington. Also, he was there with Chris Peterson at the time. Really sound, very very well coached team. Their co-defensive coordinator Johnny Nansen was on my staff when I was at UCLA, so I worked with Johnny before. So, really well coached. They don't give up anything cheap. I think they're the number one red zone defense in the country, and that's for a reason. So, and they played, a big time SEC schedule. So, really, really well coached team and a really good scheme.
The last time you were calling plays in a game and maybe your patience was tested simply because, as you just mentioned, the defense was adamant on not giving up anything cheap and making it work for everything.
Yeah, I think that happens in every game. So I don't think there's one in particular. I think every week offensively you want to try to score every drive you have, but there are some times that you go 3 and out and you're frustrated because you didn't execute on first down, so now you had a second and long, and you didn't get half the distance on second down, so now you got a long third and long, and giving them an opportunity to get into the nickel or dime packages. And usually when you're trying to stay ahead of the sticks, so you can go from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 3, and then 3rd and 3 is a lot easier than 3rd and 13. So, but that happens in every game itself. There's not one game where it was just every play you called worked. It never happens that way.
We talked earlier, Coach Flood, about coming up in small ball coaching, and he mentioned coaching against you at New Hampshire. And I think you and I have talked about this before, but do you think that coming up that way and coaching at that level what have you picked up from that moving forward to where you are now?
I think everybody has varied paths to how they got there. It's just, I think sometimes when you are at a lower level, you have to have more responsibilities. So, not only are you the running back coach, but you may also be the recruiting coordinator and in charge of filming practice. So, you pick up a lot of different things and a lot of different skill sets that maybe you wouldn't get if you were at a bigger school where you were just the GA for the old line and that's all you ever did. You didn't get exposed to. I think you get exposed to a lot more things, when you have to coach at the lower levels, just because there aren't as many coaches. So you have to wear a lot of different hats. So I think that helps you in the long run in terms of your development. But there's pluses to it.
Where was Carnell? Obviously, he hasn't had necessarily touches the last 2 games, given the way Jeremiah and Mecca played. On film, where is his value shown up the most?
I've always felt like we have 3 number 1 receivers, and that's the beautiful part of it is that if you're going to try to take away JJ and Mac, then that means that there's more opportunities for Carnell in those situations. So he's been outstanding. I think the game we played against Northwestern was a heck of a game by him. So I think it's on a weekly basis. It just depends on how the defense is going to deploy their personnel and what they're trying to take away and what they're trying to give us. But if we have the weapons that we have out wide, again, we feel like we got 3 number 1 receivers out there.
Is Jeremiah Smith the best receiver you coached so far?
Jeremiah is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, so I'm not into comparisons of who's this, who's that. He's a special player that, we're really, really fortunate to have.
We've talked to you throughout the season about Will and his running. We haven't seen a ton of it, maybe a little bit more in the last game. But how prepared do you feel like he is to do that if needed?
Yeah, he's extremely prepared. I mean, Will's a tremendous athlete. So what we do is based upon what the defense gives us. And do you need to have him run? Are you into that? You look at winning the Penn State game. His legs were critical in that game, in the run game, down the stretch. So I think it just depends on how people are going to play you. But we have all the confidence in the world. If Will has to take it underneath his arm, he's going to do a good job with it. Yep.
Coach, are you having fun this season?
What's that?
Are you having fun?
Yeah, winning is fun.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think the great part about it is this team, this group of players is special. The fact that you get to be around them every day. So I get to be around the quarterbacks every day, be in a meeting room with Will and Devin and Lincoln and Julian, and now we've added Tavian. So it's been awesome. It's a great coaching staff. It's an unbelievable group of players, and we hope we get to keep it together one more week. So to do that, we need to win this game against Texas.
As a coach, how do you kind of work to keep that focus on this game? I know it's been the mindset every single game you guys have had, but you are one win away from the end goal, right? Or playing for the end goal. How do you keep that focus as a coach with your guys?
I think it's simple. You just turn the tape on who you're playing. So I don't think you can discount anybody when you get to, when 12 teams made it, all 12 teams are legitimate contenders. And, you turned on the tape and you watched Tennessee and you were like, wow, that defensive line for Tennessee was impressive. So, that had our sole focus and attention that week in getting ready for them. And then you fast forward, then now you got to go to the Rose Bowl and play against the number one team in the country, who we had already played during the year and knew a lot about them. So, you get an opportunity to beat them, and now you get to go play Texas. And Texas played the SEC championship game. I've been Sark for a long time. I know how well coached their team is. So that part of it is it. The challenge is just the next game. We're not thinking about the end goal. We're not a results-oriented group. We're a process-oriented group. So our whole sole focus and attention is on preparing for Texas. We gotta get in, gotta get settled here tonight, and then we gotta have a really good Friday practice, which is tomorrow for us. It's a Friday, even though it's a Thursday, but it's a Friday type practice for us, and preparing for Texas, and then see if we get the opportunity to play one more time. But that's all we really talk about is just Texas, because if you don't take care of business on Friday night in the Cotton Bowl, then there's not going to be any more length in our season.
Chip, how does Texas's defensive speed compare to some of what you guys have seen this year?
I think they're favorable to, we thought the same thing when we were playing Tennessee. I think their front starts with their front. It's not only fast, it's big, and I think probably bigger than some of the defenses that we face. So I think how do we handle those guys? Collins inside, Simmons on the outside has got 9 or 10 sacks as a freshman rusher. So, they got some speed. Anthony Hill can really run at linebacker. And then the secondary, they get the Jim Thorpe Award winner. I think the two safeties are outstanding. Maybe as good a pair of safeties as we've seen and faced. So, it's legit. But you don't get to this point in the season where there's 4 teams left and say, hey, these guys, they're good on one side but not good on the other. I think they're really, really good on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, and Sark has always been known for that. But this defense is legit. I think they're first in the country in red zone defense. In 134 teams, that's pretty good. So, it's going to be a battle.
Ryan said, whenever we talked, I don't know what day of the week it is, but
yeah, no one does.
This time of the year as a head coach, he has a little more time I think he said more time for ball, like more time to get his hands, I think, a little more into the game planning of things.
Work so hard throughout the week, everyone's so locked in, everyone's working so hard, everyone puts in the extra hours for just a chance to get that play. We do so many reps, so many practice reps, so many walkthrough reps, trying to get to the perfect look, trying to execute to the highest level, and actually putting it on the field is a huge thing.
Did you ever wonder today, you're such a busy guy for us to talk to, get vicious out there. I mean, you just watch him play. We did a lot of everything that's on. Ryan wants. Did you ever wonder in your life you could be that kind of guy at the snap?
Yeah.
Calling up some of your battles last week.
Yeah, I always try to do it. Obviously I've always been a bigger kid, so I've always had to hold myself back a lot. But football has been one of those things where I'm encouraged to try to work through someone's face. And so I was like, this is awesome. I can definitely do this. But, my parents encouraged me. My parents did so much for me to try to instill that mindset of that when you walk on the field, you got to walk on the field like no one can touch you. And if you have that feeling, you can play fast and play free. if you get timid, if you're scared, if you make mistakes, that's when I'm sure you hesitate. But I've had great coaching throughout my career. Some of these coaches will be at this game, but it's just I just try to instill confidence in myself and my teammates to know we're on the field, because I know that a lot of people doubted us, a lot of people don't like me. So it's if you can't get confidence from outside, get confidence from within.
What about the biggest?
How cool is it to come back to Texas? Very cool. I grew up born and raised in Texas, so being a Texan has been my personality trait this entire week. I'm sure my teammates have been annoyed by it, but I'm very excited.
What are the biggest differences you've seen from this interior offensive line that's allowed them to take steps forward they've taken in these first 2 season games?
Yeah, it's just the practices that we have on the field. Our practices are intense. We get after it. Guys get called out. We knew coming off the end of the season that we didn't perform as well as we wanted on the offensive line. So we've been hypersensitive, hypercritical of what we do in film sessions. Like, hey, this would have worked against a scout team guy, but will this work against, a guy from Tennessee, a guy from Oregon? And so we try to focus on hand targets, try to focus on footwork, try to focus on overall aggression going off the ball, so we can be able to get our guys in space, give our guys an opportunity to make plays.
Yeah, you mentioned that the season, you felt it in your body. You feel any fatigue, the extra weight?
After the game, you feel the fatigue of the game as an offensive lineman. It's a constant hitting, constant car crashes. You get on the plane, and then that night you're like, okay, we gotta watch film. And you're like, we got practice. So you don't really have days off to try to recover your body. But our training staff, our nutrition staff does a great job of putting our bodies back in the best shape. So when we're able to get on the field again, we're able to go 100%.
Each round you
it's not difficult if you have a strong mentality. You got to remind yourself that the team we're playing has played as many games as we have, and they want it just as bad as us. So it's a battle of discipline. It's a battle of who's want to do their job and train the longest. So I feel like it's just the fatigue is just an excuse. Everybody on that field has played football. Where we like week 13, 14. If you play 14 weeks of football, you're going to get banged up. It doesn't matter, but it's just a matter of can I do my job more than the guy across the street.
Each round.
I'm going to pull Donovan for about 4 minutes, and then we'll bring him back. Go ahead.
Each round you've gone against a defensive end that's supposed to be the best one you faced, Jed, with James Pierce Jr., Tennessee, Jordan Burch at Oregon, now a formidable Texas defensive line. Do you get more jacked up going against these high-name individuals?
I just like to compete. Obviously the DNs I've gone against, or the D lines rather I've gone against, have been very talented. A lot of those guys on the D lines are going to be making a lot of money in the coming months. But it's Texas D line is probably the fastest we've seen. You can tell they're very well disciplined. You can tell they do a great job of getting hands off. They do a great job of bending the corner. And then just when you least expect to hit you with power and hit you down your chest, they've been a formidable front all year. So it's just another opportunity to compete on a big stage.
Play caller having 2 running backs that can 2 different types of skills.
Yeah. People were talking about how a lot of the importance of making quarterbacks hold the ball is disguising it so that post snap they don't know what coverage is coming. How have you guys felt that part of your game as a secondary expand over the course of the season?
Yeah, it's definitely helped a lot just because me having more reps at safety and stuff like that, it makes it easier for the defense to make me disguise. Maybe early in the season I couldn't really disguise. I really didn't kind of know too much, but now it's easy because I feel like it's a natural position for me to disguise and change different looks for the quarterback.
How do you feel you and Caleb play off each other when he's in the middle of the field in those packages and you're back deep?
It's easy. I kind of just play off him. Whatever he does, I'll just try to make him right for real, and vice versa.
Jordan, was it hard to figure that out, like to get comfortable in that spot, or is that just like kind of football IQ and instinct?
I feel like it's just natural. It just comes easy. It's just something that I played since a little kid, just playing safety and then corner. I'll go out there and play football. It's all the same stuff to me. It's kind of easy for real.
Jordan, you mentioned that chip on your shoulder mentality. Like, why do you guys still have that mentality? Where does it come from?
For real, it's just the workouts. The workouts so hard that we know that nobody's worked harder than us, and we can go out there and play with confidence and a chip on our shoulder. And yeah, that's really it for real.
Is that like something that comes from Coach Day, or like who's driving that message?
So I think for me, Coach Mick, like that's our strength coach. He coaches very hard. He trained us very hard. So we go out there and we know somebody can't. We've worked harder than to get to this point. So that's why.
How do you guys handle the pressure? I mean, you're one win away from playing for the national title. Do you embrace all this?
Absolutely, we embrace all of it. You know, we're built for these moments around here. That's why we wear the black coat. That's why we come to Ohio State to play in games like this, and we're definitely up to the challenge.
Can you talk about how Lorenzo has grown and gotten into the mix more in some of those dime packages and leagues you guys are under?
Oh yeah, he's definitely grown a lot. He came in here as a receiver. That dude always puts a smile on my face, man. He's worked so hard. Very smart kid, intellectual. He's worked so hard off the field and on the field. He's definitely working a lot on the field after practices and what people don't see, and it's just been flowing naturally for him.
Cody, excuse me, I've talked to Cody. I'm sorry if you already been asked about this, Jordan, but what does this defense, or what do you like the most about Cody?
Like I said, I think I said a little bit earlier,
Okay,
he just does everything right. Like actually, he does everything right. School, off the field. So that's why we can play behind him. That's why he wears the black coat. That's why he's a leader and a captain, because we all follow him and follow his lead.
Coaches talk a lot about trust your teammates. Is he the most trustworthy guy on the team, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, he's absolutely the most trustworthy person on the team. Whatever Cody says, we know is coming from a good heart and a good spirit, and we can go out there and follow him anytime.
Yeah, what makes him a good football player, execution wise? Why is he good at his job?
He goes out there, plays fast, but he also spends a lot of hours in the film room just diagnosing plays that he can play fast on Saturdays, and he can go out there and not go out there and think and just play one step ahead of everybody.
Okay, all right. And then his relationship with Coach Knowles, what do you see there?
Them just going off ideas with each other. Coach Knowles, he gives an idea, and then Cody goes out there and executes it without any questions asked at all.
So they're super in sync?
Yeah, very in sync for sure.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. Yep.
You were asked earlier about Lorenzo Styles, getting him and Sonny together.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have siblings for sure.
Okay. When I say have you seen them do sibling stuff? You know what I mean, right? Do you sometimes, are they sort of brothers sometimes and not just teammates?
Oh yeah, they're brothers all the time. Not sometimes, they're brothers all the time. If there's some conflict, Sonny is gonna be with Zoe, and Zoe's gonna be with Sonny. They're always gonna be together with each other all the time, through thick and thin. So yeah, they're definitely brothers, 100%.
You guys have had a chance to see some of the younger guys now sort of take on bigger roles. I mean, Jermaine this year feels like he's basically viewed as a starter, right?
Yeah.
So what has allowed him to grow so quickly from day one to the point where he's now second year and he's, starting on a team, basically starting a team that's at this position?
I think he's just a natural athlete. He's go out there with that dog mentality, and Coach Walt, he stays on him hard. We stay on him hard. We lead him and we hold him accountable. That's really the most part, and he goes out there and make plays.
What about Bryce and Aaron this year coming in, first year guys, and you can sort of see them earning bigger roles?
For sure, yeah, they're going to earn bigger roles definitely in future, especially same with Miles Lockhart too. He's definitely came along too. He plays that next position, so they definitely came along long way, and they very serious about their craft. They're staying in before practice and staying out after practice. So yeah, they're very focused.
Jordan, what would you say the identity of the defense is in the postseason?
Is go out there and make plays, have fun. We're just going out there having fun, flying around. Really, we take the mentality of silver bullets and making it in fruition, just going out there playing fast and physical.
What does it mean to have this kind of consistency? I know we've talked about how
Hamilton
it doesn't matter what.
their relationship together. He says Ty's a bit more quiet, Tyleek's more outspoken. Kind of how do they work together, and how helpful, I guess, is it when you have two guys on the interior that are in sync like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we call them. I think we call them T and T. So those guys are. I mean, I've never had two better D tackles to play behind before, and you know they destroy everything in the middle. And I mean, I can just play off of those guys. You know, it make our jobs so much easier against Sunday. So you know, I'm just thankful to have those guys up there. They're game records.
With Coach saying, you know, Ty is quieter, Tyleek, you're more outspoken, I guess. How do they kind of hold leadership roles in different ways and make an impact, even if they have, you know, kind of different personalities sometimes?
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of interesting about because Ty is one of the biggest leaders on our team, and you know a lot of people on our team would probably say he's one of the most underappreciated guys because he doesn't get a lot of the credit, he doesn't get a lot of the fame or anything, but you know, he's holding those two A gaps down, and no one really pays attention to it, but it happens every play, and he's in there in the trenches every single play. So you know, a lot of people don't give him enough credit, but I mean we know and we appreciate him. And Tyleek the same way. I mean, Tyleek, the way he uses his hands, I mean, he's almost impossible to block him. So those guys, they hold down for those three gaps in the middle, and they make our lives so much easier.
You guys are 15 games now for this thing. What's the grind been like, and what's it like right now?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that. Kind of forgot 15. Really, it's all about just taking it one week at a time. Really, one day at a time. I mean, you can't get too caught up in that. 15 weeks, 15 weeks sounds crazy for college, but I mean, NFL is 20 weeks. So, you know, we're just one day at a time, just putting one step in front of the other, keep going.
I feel like you guys have kind of rallied around the leaders, maybe Coach Day a little bit.
All the responsibilities that come with being the head coach, and you think he's done a great job, you know. And I would say he's probably more involved in offense, defense, and special teams game plan than any other head coach in the country because of how he's done it. So,
how would you describe how he handled after the Michigan game the external stuff? Need a new guy in here, you know what I mean? The whole calling for his job thing and all that kind of stuff. You've been through that, you know, as a coach. How did he handle that?
I think he was the thing with Ryan that was awesome. He was the same person every day. So when we're in the Woody, we don't talk about external anything. Whether it's, you know, we talk about praise and blame is all the same. So, you know, when you win the Tennessee game and everybody tells you how great you are, that means absolutely nothing when you walk in the doors of the Woody. So, and when you lose a game and everybody tells you how bad you are, that means absolutely nothing when you walk in the Woody. It's about the process. It is how are our Sundays set up and what are we trying to prepare for to have a good training session on a Sunday, and then how does that lead into our game plan Mondays, and then how does that lead into what Tuesday looks like and Wednesday looks like. And I think he was extremely consistent, and regardless of what was going on outside of that building, every week kind of laid itself out in the same exact mindset. And I think, you know, watching him being able to not be distracted, you know, and I think that's one of the things we pride ourselves on, being the most prepared and the least distracted. You know, being distracted, you can be distracted as a coach if you pay attention to things that go on outside. And paying attention to things that go on outside that aren't about our current opponent is a distraction. And he's done a great job of not being distracted.
Can I ask you one other quickie? Do you ever, before a game like this, do you ever sit in your office and go, man, I got to come up with something. I got to come up with something that's going to surprise, or, you know what I mean? Do you have those kind of moments or periods where, you know, like your two of your first three plays in the Rose Bowl were maybe overrun them. I don't remember seeing. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, coming up, being creative, whatever you want to call it.
We don't, and I understand the question, but we don't look at it that way. We look at it is how do we put together a plan that will beat this defense, and then that's really it. You know, and there's a lot of ideas that come up, but then we have to also, what can we run? What can we manage? How much is that play? Is that a good play? It's a really good play, but how much do we have to invest from a timing standpoint to be able to run that play? And if we're only going to run it once a game, then how many snaps do we really need in practice to run it? And if it's going to take 30 snaps to get it down right to run it once, and that's probably not a good play that week. It may be a better play another week. So we just look at it that way. We're just trying to put together a plan and let our players go play. You know, and I think for a lot of us, and I've told Will this a ton about being quarterback, is you don't have to make it happen. You have to let it happen. So there's certain things that when you call a play, they may have it covered. Well, then you got to get to your check down and move on. Sometimes a good play is a gain of 4. You were looking for 40, but they took 40 away. But you don't force the 40. You just take the 4 and, kind of take a picture of that, maybe put that in your back pocket. You may come back to it later on in the third or fourth quarter when we get the right look. But that's kind of how we approach it.
When you see that pass to Jeremiah Smith, y'all caught him on the flip flop defensively, Oregon on the third play. When that pops, what just goes through your mind?
That Jeremiah is a special player that can turn, literally, he can turn a 4-yard pass into a 40-yard game. So I mean, we threw the ball from here to Cody.
I know.
And then he did the rest of it himself. So when that play hit, I was like, thank God we have Jeremiah Smith on our side.
You're kind of in that same vein, but I guess not really. When Emeka makes the catch that he made, and he was just talking about showing late hands and the ability to do that and how much he practices that, those little things that he does as a receiver, how rare is that in a guy? And is that just his experience, or do you think that's
I think it's both, and I think Brian Hartline does an unbelievable job of coaching those guys and preparing them for those situations. And that wasn't something that just happened. That was something that they work on as a wide receiver group all the time. But you also have to have somebody like Mac that's gifted like that can actually do that and to show late hands. And it's there's a bunch of guys here that work extremely hard at their craft, and the fact that you get to see that on games is we get to see that stuff in practice. They've all of those guys have done things in practice that you're just like, wow, what was that? But they really work at it. This team's work ethic is beyond, and I think that's why we're having the success that we're having right now.
I'm struck. You mentioned right. You have a player like Emeka Egbuka. Jeremiah Smith comes in too. You have a player in Travion Henderson who's been an all Big Ten running back. Quinshon Judkins comes in too. How do you manage the people and why is Ohio State a place where you kind of have these egoless players?
I think because the older players set the tone for that. So I think Travion and Mech were great because they understand that it's about winning as a team. And the only way you win as a team is if you can get better players at all positions. And depth is going to be tested. Thank God we have the depth that we have in the offensive line because we lost 2 really, really good football players this year. But Travion was extremely excited when Q was coming in. There wasn't a selfish thing in his body about, why are you bringing in another running back? It was like, great, this is going to be beneficial to him. You look how fresh Trey is right now, and I don't know if there's a better running back playing right now, in these Final Four than what he's done in the last couple of weeks in the Tennessee game and in the Oregon game. But I think they understand that. But it comes from the older guys here, really care about the team. And it's not about individual stats. That's not what they're looking to do. They're looking to, leave a mark on this place, and you do that by winning championships. You don't do that by accumulating stats.
Does it make it easier to make that kind of pitch when you are a successful, long-time head coach who decided to take a specific role here to win?
Yeah, I didn't make any pitch. These guys are all here before I got here, so I just lucked out. Got a chance to coach really good guys. So.
Coach Knowles was talking about the versatility of Jordan Hancock and Caleb Downs, the way they moved around. Going against them, just how difficult does that make this defense when you have 2 guys who can change the picture so much?
Yeah, it is difficult. And Lathan, so you're not sure who was who, when they're playing 3 safeties and how they fit and where they are and what they do. And, Caleb can play dime linebacker and do some different things. So, our preparation, one of the things that has made us good offensively is we've had to go against those guys every day, and it's, Josh Fryer's a better football player because he goes against JT and Jack every day, and we practice good on good during the week. There's days each day that it's whether it's run drill or third down pass drills, all those other things where it's good on good. And we have not backed off of that since we got into the playoffs. But I think those reps for Josh, those reps for Donnie when he moved out to tackle, we felt confident in Donnie playing tackle because we watched him go against JT and Jack and Kenyatta Jackson and Curry and all those guys. So I think the whole team that way makes it difficult. But to go to your question, I think the fact that Caleb and Jordan and Lathan can move around like that and they have versatility, it makes they can present some different pictures for quarterbacks than some other teams, I think.
Does Caleb remind you of anyone the way they're able to use him?
No, I mean, he's one of those special, really, really special players that his football IQ is off the charts. And He's certainly, and he has practiced, but he was seamless when he came over and practiced with us at running back. We didn't have to use him this year, but for him to be able to play multiple positions on defense and then be able to easily transition to an offensive player tells you what kind of player he is.
Chip, did you expect that Donovan would be able to be as dominant as he's been as a left tackle?
You never know because he didn't have the experience and the reps there, but I knew he had the skill level and the talent and really the mindset to do it. And so when he actually kicked out there and did it, it didn't surprise me. But I was really happy for him because, that's what goes back to the selfless thing. There's a lot of guys that say, hey, well, this could hurt my draft stock, but I don't think Donnie's concerned with his draft stock. I think what Donnie's concerned with is leaving a lasting legacy here. And I would argue after what he did is he's actually improved his draft stock. But there are some guys, that are afraid of change and they don't want to be uncomfortable. And for him, he relished it. So, but it tells you the type of person he is, to be honest with you.
What are the biggest traits a guard needs to have in order to make that transition?
Well, I think they have to have the footwork. I think it's a different game on the edge. You face different people. You're facing defensive ends. So to go against the Abdul Carters and the Colin Simmonses of the world are different than going against, the really big physical, it's a different body type that you're going against. And, it's more of an anchor position at guard than it's more of a movement position at tackle. And he's proven that he can do both.
You're working on, the Texas defense. What stands out to you about Sark and his offense, and what's kind of helped him make this rise as an offensive play caller?
Yeah, he's always been this way, whether he was at Washington and did a really nice job. I faced Sark when I was at Oregon and he was at Washington, or whether he was at Alabama with Nick or even his time in the NFL when he was a coordinator for the Falcons. So they're diverse. They use every shift motion known to man. They get the ball in their playmakers' hands. They get the ball in their playmakers' hands in space. The running backs are threats in the pass game. The tight end is a big critical factor for him. And then he's got shot plays downfield, so it's not just an underneath passing game. I think he's got a vertical passing game. He's got a horizontal passing game. And he uses all 5 guys that are available to him. So he does a great job of getting the ball spread around so you can't focus on one thing.
How hard is it to keep it rolling once you get there? Because I think people watch, they say, wow, it looks easy, Ohio State scored all these points. But, how difficult, in these last 9 days been trying to, keep it going?
Yeah, I think with these, it's not difficult when you have these players. I think that, sometimes you get, what's our motivation? You don't have to worry about motivating these guys. They're intrinsically motivated to begin with. And the second the clock hit 0 and at the Rose Bowl, it was all of us, let's move on to Texas and let's get ready for a really good Texas team. So, because of these players, that part hasn't been difficult. And it's, every game is different. Every game will express itself in a different way. And, I remember when I was at Oregon and we played the national championship against Auburn, and everybody said it was, Auburn's up-tempo offense and Oregon's up-tempo offense. This is going to be the highest scoring game in college football. I think it was 22-19, and it was a defensive game. So you don't know how the game's going to express itself, and then you have to be prepared. It's just going to be a slugfest, and we got to be ready to get in a street fight with them. Then we're going to have to get in a street fight with them. If it's going to turn into a high-scoring game, then we have to be prepared to do that too, and I'm sure they are also. So we don't have any preconceived notions going in that it's going to end up being this way. It's just going to, however it unfolds, hopefully we're prepared for that.
The Auburn game, it turned on one of the weirdest plays you're ever going to see. So you don't know.
You never know.
Is that crazy to you to do all this prep and yet it can turn something like that?
That's just football, and that's the beauty of the game. It's why it's such entertaining, because it is unscripted and no one knows the final how it's going to play itself out. We played number 1 team in the country last week and we were up 34-0. And if someone said that before the game, I think they would have checked you and say, "Well, you're really going to you really think they're going to be up 34-0? It's in the middle of the second quarter." Well, we were. But that's just how the game unfolded. You never truly know until you play them, and that's the beautiful part of it. So.
Would you have been among? Thank you very much.
What's that?
Would you have been among them?
I knew exactly what was going to happen.
It's unscripted as long as the Chiefs aren't playing.